The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Sarah Chen rose from her seat, the weight of humanity's extinction notice heavy in her hands. Around the crystalline amphitheater, representatives from dozens of species watched with barely concealed satisfaction. The Zephyrians' chitinous faces clicked with amusement, while the Vorthon Collective's bioluminescent patches pulsed in rhythmic mockery. 30 standard days, announced High Arbiter Kextar, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. That is all we grant your species before the Purge Fleet arrives at Sol. Your aggressive nature and rapid expansion threaten galactic stability. Sarah's jaw tightened. 3 centuries since first contact, and still they saw humans as nothing more than violent primitives. And our request for a champion trial? Denied. Kextar's mandibles clicked dismissively. Your species possesses no warriors capable of facing a council champion. Your mythology speaks of great heroes and monsters, but we see only fragile bipeds with delusions of grandeur. Laughter rippled through the assembly. The crystalline hegemony's representative chimed like breaking glass. Humans and their fairy tales, dragons, gods, demons, the imaginations of a juvenile species. Sarah smiled then, a cold expression that made several nearby diplomats shift uncomfortably. You're right about one thing. We do tell stories about monsters. She activated her communication device. This is Ambassador Chen. Execute protocol. Pandora. The holographic display in the chamber's center flickered to life, showing Earth's solar system. As the assembled delegates watched, massive shapes began emerging from what appeared to be empty space around Earth's moon. Ships, if they could be called that, materialized from dimensional rifts, their forms defying conventional design principles. Impossible, breathed the Aquarian delegate, her gill slits flapping in distress. No species has achieved dimensional fold technology. Oh, these aren't our ships, Sarah replied casually. We just asked nicely. The largest vessel dominated the display, a mountain of bone and metal that seemed to writhe with its own malevolent life. Smaller craft flanked it, vessels of shadow that bent light around them, crystalline behemoths that sang with harmonics that made reality shiver, and sleek predators whose very presence made nearby space seem to hunger. What? What are those? Kextar's voice cracked, his usual composure shattered. The things that go bump in the night, Sarah said. Every species tells stories about the dark, about the monsters that lurk just beyond perception. Most species learn to forget, to rationalize away what they've seen. But humans? We remember. We write it down. We pass it on. And sometimes we learn to call them. The lead vessel opened a communication channel. The voice that emerged was like grinding stone mixed with dying stars. Little sister speaks true. The compact is honored. We come. Panic erupted in the chamber. Representatives scrambled for their communication devices, screaming orders in a dozen languages. The Vorthon Collective's synchronized panic created a strobe effect that would have been comical under other circumstances. 30,000 years ago, Sarah continued over the chaos. When humans first looked up at the stars and wondered what lay beyond, we weren't alone in the dark. Things found us. Ancient things, hungry things, things that existed between the spaces where light fears to go. Other species ran, other species hid, other species forgot. The display showed more rifts opening, disgorging vessels that hurt to look at directly, ships that existed in too many dimensions, craft that moved through space-time like sharks through water, and in the distance, something vast and tentacled that made the local star dim in apparent fear. But humans, Sarah's voice rose above the pandemonium. We listened to them, we learned from them, we made bargains. Help us become strong, we said, and we'll tell your stories. We'll remember when others forget. We'll be your voice in the light. High Arbiter Kextar clutched his ceremonial staff with trembling claws. This is madness. You've doomed us all. Have we? Sarah's smile widened. They're quite reasonable, actually. They just want to be remembered, respected, feared appropriately. She gestured to the display where the impossible fleet continued to grow. They've been very patient with you. 30,000 years of your species calling them impossible and mythological. They find it amusing. A new voice joined the communication, this one like whispers in a hurricane. The Council will withdraw its fleet. The compact with the storytellers will be honored, or we will remind the galaxy why the dark was feared. The chamber fell deathly quiet. Even the Zephyrian's constant clicking ceased. Of course, Sarah added conversationally, they're also quite fond of irony. A species that prides itself on logic and reason, destroyed by the very myths they mocked. They'd tell that story for eons. Kextar's 6 eyes darted between Sarah and the display. What do you want? Nothing unreasonable. Humanity keeps its colonies. We maintain our current expansion rate. And you stop trying to purge species who don't fit your narrow definition of civilization. Sarah's expression hardened. Because we're not the only ones who remember the old stories. We're just the only ones who still honor our debts. The lead vessel pulsed with dark energy, and for a moment, every being in the chamber felt something vast and terrible turn its attention toward them. The sensation of being truly seen by something that existed before concepts like mercy or forgiveness had been invented. Agreed, Kextar gasped. The purge fleet will be recalled immediately. Sarah nodded and spoke into her communicator again. Thank you, friends. Until next time. The impossible fleet began to fade back into whatever spaces between spaces they called home. But before the last vessel disappeared, its voice echoed through the chamber one final time. We are always listening, little sister, always watching. The stories must continue. As the dimensional rifts sealed and normal space-time reasserted itself, Sarah gathered her materials. Around her, the galactic representatives sat in stunned silence, some still trembling from their brief encounter with beings their science insisted couldn't exist. Gentlemen, she said pleasantly, I trust this concludes today's business. Humanity looks forward to continued peaceful relations with the Council. She walked toward the exit, pausing only when Kexatar called out, Ambassador Chen, what other stories do your people remember? Sarah turned back, her smile now genuinely warm. Oh, Arbiter, we remember them all. Every ghost story told around a campfire, every monster that hides under the bed, every shadow that moves when it shouldn't. We remember the beautiful ones too. The angels, the guardians, the heroes who rise when all hope is lost. She looked directly at him with eyes that suddenly seemed far older than her years. The question you should be asking isn't what stories we remember. It's which ones we choose to tell. As the chamber doors closed behind her, the assembled delegates of the Galactic Council sat in contemplative silence, each wondering what other impossibilities humanity might have befriended in the dark corners of the universe. And in the spaces between stars, ancient things smiled with too many teeth and settled back to wait, content in the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy their stories were still being told.